We've been talking, of course, about Manchester United. We're going to continue that theme now. Let's get more on that. Of course, someone that knows him far better than we do is our European football expert, the wonderful Andy Brassell, joins us. Andy, hello, good afternoon to you.
Hello, you guys. How are you?
We're good. We're very well. Listen, as a United fan, I'm quite excited about the appointment. Should I be?
Yes, I think it's a positive step. Clearly, he's created an identifiable style of football while he's been at Ajax. He's produced two very good Champions League teams on a budget, the fraction of which is the one he'll have at Manchester United. I guess the concerns are there's a lot to sort out. There's a lot to sort out, and there's the fact that you wonder if he really has the management structure around him to be able to execute that, because at Ajax he's had Edwin van der Sar upstairs. He had until very recently Mark Overmars as sporting director, who he worked with very closely until Overmars was kicked out of the club in disgrace. So I just wonder, really, you look at the way that Manchester City set the table for Pep in terms of, before they brought him in, they convinced him that it was the place by getting the right executives in, people that he knew, people that he worked with, people that convinced him that he could just get on with coaching the team. I'm not completely sure that that's the case yet. Now, of course, there's been an indication that Manchester United are moving in that direction, the way they're cleaning the decks in terms of scouting, in terms of people who work on transfers. All that sort of stuff matters. And the big question is, will Ralf Rangnick stay and have a meaningful role in the position where he really could make a difference, which is upstairs? So those have got to be the big questions. In terms of a purely football perspective, there are those in the Netherlands who will say, well, maybe people are starting to work him out tactically. They've suffered a bit defensively in the last couple of months. They're still going to end up winning the league against very, very good opposition in PSV, who ran Leicester pretty close. And, you know, they're still going to qualify for the Champions League. He's done a globally really good job there. It's a start, but it's only a start for Manchester United.
Andy, what were they like before he went to Ajax, and what differences has he made to the team?
Well, I think he's benefited from a good crop of young players coming through. We know Ajax produces young players, but in terms of their aggression, they're a little bit more aggressive. So I think that's a difference from the De Boer era, for example. But he's created not just one good team, but two good teams. I think that's what is really going to appeal to you if you're a Manchester United fan. If you think of Sir Alex Ferguson's best work, and don't get me wrong, he's nowhere near that yet. But he's someone who didn't just create one good United team. He created several great dynasties of United. And being able to rip it up and start again, if you think of when Ten Hag and Ajax got to the 2019 Champions League semi-final, and of course to the brink of the final when Spurs and Lucas Moura beat them right at the end in Amsterdam, he did that by giving responsibility to a lot of young players. But straight after that, De Ligt leaves, Frankie de Jong leaves, and he manages to start again with a lot of different players. And I think you have to respect that. But what Ten Hag has come to understand, interestingly, his second great Ajax team, the one that's there at the moment, is one that leans quite heavily on experienced players like Dusan Tadic, which I did before, Daley Blind, who of course was at Manchester United before, and Sebastian Haller, who didn't work out great in the Premier League, but has done a really good job there. So I think he's realised and he's understood that it's great to have young talent, but to have the right experienced players to guide them is super important as well. And in terms of United developing the sort of personality that United fans want them to develop, I think that's quite important.
And how important is it then that the United fans be patient with him? Because you said there that he's done some fantastic work at Ajax. He's good at building squads. They have to be patient with him, don't they?
Yeah, they totally do, Darren. And I think that's what's got to be borne in mind. I think it's interesting because you look at the sort of players that he's rumoured to be interested in. And, of course, players that he knows well from Ajax, like Julian Timber, the defender, Ryan Gravenberch, the midfielder, who Bayern Munich have had an extended look at as well. Maybe as a possible Pogba replacement for Manchester United when he moves on. That, to me, makes a lot better sense. The idea that he can bring in younger players and develop them rather than the players who are necessarily going to be the biggest names, maybe that United have gone for in the past. Now, of course, this was something that Louis van Gaal underlined when he advised Erik ten Hag not to take the job. He said, it's not a football club, it's a commercial operation. And I think United have to get away from that on the pitch because, of course, winning football and an identifiable brand of football is potentially commercially successful as well, rather than just buying players who are recognisable names. Eventually that is something that will work for Manchester United. But for him to actually work on players and to be able to grow with them, I think that's very important. Of course, it's very good news for Ajax as well. I think you're rubbing your hands together thinking if we're going to be able to sell them, 120 million euros worth of players. But I think that would be the better route for Manchester United, where they are at the moment.
And just finally as well, before we move on, formation-wise, what is he likely to play? What is he favourite Ajax?
4-3-3 every time. It's religion for them. I think the big thing to get that to work, and the big thing in terms of that having worked this season, is that fixed point centre forward. And Sebastian Haller is technically fine, but not technically the best player in that Ajax team. But he's made a massive difference to the way they play. And that is a player that Manchester United maybe lack at the moment. So obviously that's not going to be cheap.